Okay, thank you, Jessica. I'll bring this meeting to order for February 24th, Kettle Creek Conservation Authority's annual general meeting. Board members, staff, guests, and members of the public are reminded that a full authority board meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the authority's website along with the official written minutes. As such, comments and opinions expressed may be published, and any comments expressed by an individual board member, guest, and general public are their own and do not represent the opinions or comments of the full authority and Kettle Creek Conservation Authority Board of Directors. The recorded video of the full authority meeting is not considered the official record of that meeting. The official record of the full authority meeting shall consist solely of the minutes approved by the full authority. I would now ask for any declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, I'll ask Elizabeth to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dennis Kravitz from the Municipality of Central Elgin.
Here.
Dominique Giguère from the Township of Malahide.
Here.
Stephen Harvey from Middlesex Center.
Here.
Jim Herbert from the City of St. Thomas. Jim, you're muted. Can you unmute and acknowledge your presence? I'll come back to Jim. Grant Jones from the Township of Southold.
Present.
Bill Mackey from the City of London.
Present.
Steve Peters from the City of St. Thomas.
Present.
Elizabeth Pelosa from the City of London is absent this morning. She sends her regrets. Allison Warwick, Thames Center.
Present.
Ralph Winfield from the City of London.
Present.
And again, Jim Herbert from the City of St. Thomas. Can you acknowledge your presence?
Yes, thank you. I'm here.
Thanks, Jim. Mr. Chair, we have 9 members present of 10 members today.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's been a year of COVID. Obviously, we're all sitting in our own little cocoons, separated from everyone. That's been pretty much the norm for the past year. I'd like to commend Elizabeth and the staff for their ability to adapt with a very demanding change in lifestyle and protocols in the workplace. And I'd like to thank Elizabeth for leading that team through some very difficult transitions and people being able to pick up and help each other out. Obviously, this is the first AGM that's being live streamed and virtual. It's hopefully the last one. We hope next year we'll see everybody back in the room and have some camaraderie after the meeting and some snacks. And it's been a challenge that I'd like to thank the board for being able to allow staff to do what they need to do and get the work done. I'll now ask Scott Trevors to present the audited financial statements. Scott, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor Jones. Okay, so my name is Scott Trevors and I'm representing the accounting firm Graham Scott Enns. We are the auditors of the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority. We have performed the audit of the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2020. Part of our responsibility with the audit is to communicate the audit findings and our auditor's report to the board and management at the annual general meeting. Everyone should have access to the full set of audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2020. And I believe will be available on the website. The report and other pages presented herein are excerpts of the full set of the financial statements. As with any audit, the financial statements are the responsibility of the management of the organization, and our role as auditors was to audit these financial statements, including the notes to the financial statements as presented by management. As auditors, we provide and are responsible for the auditor's report, which is shown on your screen here. I'll walk through this. The first section of the auditor's report outlines what we audited, that being the financial statements and the notes to the financial statements, and then explains our opinion. We issued an unqualified opinion on these financial statements in that our audit concluded the financial statements were free from material misstatement. So I'll read to you our opinion. We have audited the financial statements of Kettle Creek Conservation Authority, which comprise the statement of financial position as at December 31st, 2020, and the statement of operations and accumulated surplus, statement of changes in net financial assets, and statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the organization's financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the organization as at December 31st, 2020, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So as we would call an unqualified audit opinion. The further sections of the auditor's report are as follows. The second section is titled Responsibility of Management and those charged with governance for the financial statements. This outlines the responsibility of management and those charged with governance, which is to say that the financial statements, notes, and the controls to appropriately reflect the transaction are management's responsibility. The third section that starts at the bottom there, that's the auditor's responsibility for the audit of the financial statements. This is going to move on to the next page and outlines the auditors or our responsibilities. This section outlines a little bit of what an audit is and what we're looking to obtain a reasonable assurance that the statements are free from material misstatement. The final section is our signature and date of this report, which would be today, February 24th, 2021, and when these statements are expected to be approved. These statements were also made available and discussed with management and the board on February 17th, 2021. The next page, let's go to the next page. Included is the statement of financial position, which shows the authority's assets and liabilities as at December 31st, 2020, with comparative figures for December 31st, 2019. These are broken out into financial assets, financial liabilities, and non-financial assets such as tangible capital assets as at December 31st, 2020. So the excess of these assets over liabilities represents our accumulated surplus of $3.8 million. And the final page that we've included is the statement of operations, which is a full year ended December 31st, 2020, with the comparative budget and the comparative statements of December 31st, 2019. These figures represent the authority's revenues by type and then expenditures by segment, showing a net surplus for the year of $108,000. So again, it should be noted that these pages presented are excerpts of the full set of financial statements that should be made available to you by the authority on their website. So thank you for hearing this by presentation.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions on Scott's presentation? Seeing no questions, could I have a motion to adopt the presentation?
So moved.
I would so move or second.
Warwick and Winfield, please call the vote. Elizabeth?
Mr. Chair, I'll just clarify that the motion is that the year 2020 financial statements be adopted as presented. So on the motion, Krebitz,
Yes.
Giguere,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Pelosa, is absent, Warwick,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, that motion passes.
thank you. I'll ask Elizabeth to present her annual report.
Mr. Chair, it's my pleasure on behalf of the staff to present to the board the 2020 annual report. I don't think any program or service was untouched by the pandemic in 2020, but I want to congratulate staff on the energy that they put into developing new procedures, rethinking delivery of programs to ensure that as much as possible, the public was able to access services throughout 2020 without interruption. There are just a couple of things we wanted to highlight this morning. 32,900 trees and shrubs were planted throughout the watershed, and an additional 2,090 were sold through our Greening Communities program. 5 wetland creation projects were completed with funding from Environment and Climate Change Canada's Eco Action Community Funding Program and other funding partners. 3.5 acres of tall grass prairie was planted at the Elgin County Administration Building. 20 flood messages were shared with the community as we continued to experience historic high Lake Erie water levels. We achieved 63 permissions for development, with 100% of those issued within 21 days, meeting the provincial service standard under Ontario Regulation 18106. We also launched a virtual Carolinian Forest Festival for 146 grade 6 and 7 teachers in the Thames Valley District School Board, providing videos, follow-up activities, and a virtual field trip in partnership with Birds Canada. With support from the estate of Donna Bushell, we began work on the new Evans Sisters Water Trail, a trail for kayaks and canoes in the Dalewood Reservoir and along Kettle Creek, and undertook bridge reconstruction and trail rehabilitation on the Dalewood Reservoir Trail. All this while making the pivot to new COVID-19 protocols and a more paperless work environment. 2020 was exhausting. Changes were around every corner and it was anything but normal, but KCCA was consistent in its delivery of quality programming, and we did push the bar further on many of our long-term goals. Mr. Chair, board members, I'm pleased to present the 2020 annual report for your approval.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Any questions or comments for Elizabeth?
I would like to have a comment through you.
Go
Mayor
ahead.
Jones. I just want to congratulate the Kettle Creek administration and staff. I think there was a lot of uncertainty going into 2020, and I know by reaching out to different people that use the facilities, like Lake Whitaker, they were extremely happy at the end of the camping season, and it was just a testimony to the hard work of the staff that was a successful year for them in everything that was for. So thank you again.
Comment, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Jim.
Hi, thank you. I echo those comments of Allison. I look at COVID, what's happened in our city, with being on city council and all the struggles that we've had. And yet I look at all the things that are working. The staff has worked hard to do all this stuff. You look at the tree planting and the planting regulations and the properties, and the work has gone on. And I think that's a testament to your staff that they've taken the bull by the horns. They haven't given up, and they're working hard at it. So anyway, I think the report's well done. There was a lot of interesting information for me to read, and I think the staff have a lot to look for as we move into the new year. So anyway, thank you very much.
Grant, can I just say something?
Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what the other members are talking about. I guess having been sort of one step further closer to the planning, I know that it was a whole team effort, and it was very much a shared vision of what they wanted to accomplish. Elizabeth was a fine leader in the fact that she allowed staff to have input. They made good decisions based on best practices, and above all else, they were consistent. And at the same time, being able to accommodate the specific needs of specific people on staff who all have their own lives as well, and all those other struggles that we all know happen. So I guess I would just have to say congratulations to Elizabeth and Joe and everyone who's on staff, and the fact that standing on the outside looking in, you would never know that there was anything happening in Kettle Creek that wasn't just normal, because everything was so seamless. So way to go, guys. Good job.
Any further comments? Seeing no further comments, have a motion to adopt.
I'll move it.
Peters
Kravitz.
and
Kravitz.
Call the vote, please, Elizabeth.
Mr. Chair, on the motion that the year 2020 annual report be adopted as presented, Kravitz? Jaguar?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Herbert?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Warwick,
Yes.
Winfield,
yes,
and Jones.
Yes,
And that motion passes, Mr. Chair.
thank you. I'll ask Betsy McClure to present the ECWP annual report. Betsy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to highlight the successes of the Elgin Clean Water Program in 2020 for you today. The Elgin Clean Water Program was established in 2012 in partnership with the 4 Elgin Conservation Authorities. So from 2012 to 2020, 235 projects have been completed with a good distribution across the county, and over $640,000 has been provided in grants from the program, and total project costs have now exceeded $2.7 million. In 2020, 30 projects were completed, totaling over $73,000 in funding from the Elgin Clean Water Program. And you can see the various projects that were undertaken on the slide. In addition, we were able to support landowners by finding over $133,000 in matching funds through the CA's own funding programs or other organizations such as Ducks Unlimited, the Elgin Stewardship Council, and Alice Elgin. And in addition, landowners contributed $119,000 of their own cash or in-kind resources, such as time or equipment. And Elgin County and the Green Lane Community Trust Fund are annual supporters of the program. I'm going to highlight a few of the projects undertaken in 2020 for you today. The first is one of the 8 erosion control projects that were completed this year. The existing tile drain on this farm was not able to convey the large storm events, causing extensive erosion, loss of soil, and damage to the tiles. So this project was designed by a certified erosion control contractor, and the project involved constructing a 10-meter grass waterway and the installation of 4 berms with water control structures along the main drain and one of the branches. Next project was a livestock management project, which included the installation of over 1,000 meters of fencing to exclude the livestock from a drain that runs into the Thames River. 2 acres of riparian land was also taken out of production to be naturalized, and a new watering system was installed to pump water from a well for the livestock. Elgin County had 3.5 acres of land in between its administration building and the new provincial offenses courthouse. And so instead of maintaining it as a mowed grass area, a naturalization plan was developed for that area. So the Elgin Clean Water Program supported the planting of a mix of over 20 species of native grasses and wildflowers at the site. And then following that, KCCA planted 3,500 native tree and shrub seedlings. And the grasses and wildflowers will provide greater biodiversity on the site, as well as habitat for wildlife and pollinators until the eventual succession to forest habitat many years later. Wetland creation continues to be one of the most popular categories in the program. In 2020, wetland creation was the most fun project that we had, with 12 projects completed. You can see on the slide a few before and after pictures of some of the projects from this year. And wetland coverage across the county is less than 2%, much lower than the 10% recommended by Environment Canada. So these projects will go a long way to help bolster our wetland numbers across the county. We continue to get positive feedback about the program, not only the importance of the funds for landowners to be able to carry out the projects on their properties, but also the support landowners receive from CA staff and the ease of the process. And if anyone is interested in more information about the program or wants to discuss a potential project, you can always visit the program's website, elgincleanwater.ca, or I encourage you to reach out to your local Elgin County CA.
Thank you, Betsy. Any questions or comments for Betsy? Seeing no questions or comments, could I have a motion to adopt the report?
I would so move. Ralph here.
I can second it. Steve,
Was that Jim?
Harvey, yeah.
Harvey? Oh, Harvey? Call the roll, please.
On the motion, Kravitz,
Yes.
Jager,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Warwick,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes,
And that motion passes, Mr. Chair.
thank you. So next up is the levy and the budget for 2021. Hopefully a brighter and just a brighter 2021 than 2020 was. The budget and levy has been received and discussed by the board in detail at previous meetings. It is presented this morning for final consideration of the members, and there are any further questions or comments regarding the budget at this time. Seeing no further questions or comments, Elizabeth, please read the motion and record the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To provide conformity with legislation and regulations governing approval of Conservation Authority levies, the proposed year 2021 levy and apportionment for KCCA was circulated by registered mail to member municipalities on January 7th, 2021, in order to provide a minimum 30-day notice to budget and levy approval on February 24th, 2021. There is a 1% average levy increase over 2020 levels, or $10,066. A recorded vote will be taken with each member responding either for or against the motion. The motion carries or is lost according to the total of weighted votes assigned to each board member. This weighted vote is based upon the modified current value assessment apportioned to that portion of each municipality within the jurisdiction of the KCCA watershed. The 2020 levy and budget approved by the board will be circulated by registered mail to participating municipalities on February 25th, 2021, who, if not satisfied, may appeal to the Mining and Lands Commissioner by March 31st, 2021. Thereafter, no appeals are allowed, and the year 2021 budget and levy will be final. Mr. Chair, the motion is in front of us. I now ask for a mover and seconder for that motion.
So moved. Harvey?
Second, Mackey.
And Mr. Chair, on the motion, Bill Mackey,
Yes.
Ralph Winfield,
Yes.
Jim Herbert,
Yes.
Steve Peters,
Yes.
Dennis Kravitz,
Yes.
Allison Warwick,
Yes.
Stephen Harvey,
Yes.
Dominique Giguère,
Yes.
Grant Jones.
Yes,
And Mr. Chair, that motion passes with 83.33% of the weighted vote present.
thank you, Elizabeth. I think it's a very responsible budget of a 1% increase, which given the times is, I think, the best thing we could have done. Next on our agenda is special recognition of staff, and Elizabeth's going to do this.
At every general meeting, we take time to honor those employees who have reached a significant service milestone. Today, we have 3 staff members to recognize. Joe Gordon is our Assistant Manager Supervisor of Planning and Conservation Areas, has reached the milestone of 15 years of service with the authority. Joe's dedication is exemplified by consistently processing permits in a timely fashion, meeting or exceeding the provincial service standards. Congratulations, Joe. The second employee we're recognizing today is Kathleen Sebastian Scott. She is celebrating 10 years of service with the authority as the Financial Services Supervisor, and I believe her 10th year with no audit correcting entries. This past year, she handled being thrown into almost paperless accounting and audit processes with her usual good humor and patience. Congratulations, Kathleen. Jeff Lawrence is our final recipient this morning. He is also celebrating 10 years of service with the authority as the Forest and Soils Conservation Supervisor, as well as the Elgin County Tree Commissioner and Weed Inspector. In that time, Jeff has overseen the planting of over 600,000 seedlings in the watershed and protected countless others. Congratulations, Jeff, and perhaps next time you see a tree in the local watershed, you can think of Jeff and thank him for that.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, I'd like to say congratulations as well to all three. Some days it's a tough job, especially for Jeff and Joe. Kathy, maybe not quite so much, but still our finances are very critical to the operations of the Conservation Authority. But any other comments? Seeing no comments, congratulations, guys. So next is my part of the meeting. First, we have three board members to recognize. First, I'd like to take a moment and remember and honor Linda Stevenson. Linda served as a member, pardon me, a member of the board for the City of St. Thomas from 2015 to 2020, when she passed away from a long battle with cancer. Linda is a tireless supporter of Kettle Creek Conservation Authority. In her honor for her commitment to the board and her legacy to the community, a memorial tree will be planted in the spring in her honor. And it was a sad day when Linda left us. Next is Joe Preston from the City of St. Thomas, served on the board of directors from 2019 to partway through 2020 before being replaced by Councillor Jim Hermit. I would like to thank Mayor Preston for his service during that time, and also welcome Jim. And lastly, but not least, Stephen Harvey. Stephen still continues to be a member of the board of directors in 2021. I want to thank Stephen for his natural leadership, especially during this past year. I know we've had some delicate issues to deal with kit gloves, and Stephen has definitely given a lot of confidence to the team to deal with those issues, and also with COVID and the transition to working remotely. And Stephen, thank you so much for pardon me, the past 2 years. In recognition, we have a photo, a picture frame photo by Barry Actions Photography, and displays beautiful, the beauty of Kettle Creek watershed. And Stephen, it's in the office, and I'm not sure how we're going to get it to you, but Elizabeth and you will figure that one out. But thank you so much, Stephen, for the past 2 years.
Well, thank you very much.
And if there's nothing else, any comments for Stephen from the other board members?
Warwick?
Go ahead.
Okay. And I just want to thank Mr. Harvey through his presence and his leadership through the years that he was chair. It was much appreciated. And as a new board member, I found him very helpful to let me understand the goings on of what was happening. And I think he truly treated everyone on the board, the staff, employees with respect. And I think that's highly commendable.
Thank you, Allison. Any other comments? Well, if there's nothing else, this concludes this morning's AGM meeting. And thank you again for everyone attending. Hopefully next year we'll be back in one room and be able to enjoy everybody's camaraderie and catch up on what's happened over the past year or 2 years. So I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Harvey?
Herbert second.
Call the vote, please.
Mr. Chair, if it's the will of the members, I'll note that the meeting adjourned at 10:31 with everyone in favor.
Yes. Good move, Liz.
That sounds good. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.